the darkness above Apokolips had not disappeared. It had spread. The armies had stopped fighting. Parademons stood motionless across the wastelands. Symbiotes crawled across ruined towers, but made no attempt to attack. Every creature on Apokolips could feel the same thing. Something was watching. Knull stood at the edge of the enormous fissure, the All-Black Necrosword hanging at his side. Darkseid stood opposite him. Then the planet shook again. A wave of black-red energy erupted from the fissure. It passed through Knull. His symbiote armor immediately reacted. Black tendrils rose from his shoulders and stretched toward the energy as though they recognized it. Knull's eyes widened. The energy was entering him, not attacking him, entering him. Darkseid saw it. Stop. Knull looked toward him. You felt that too. Darkseid's eyes burned. The equation is not yours. Knull looked back toward the fissure. Perhaps it disagrees. Another pulse erupted. This time, the symbiotes screamed. Their bodies expanded as black-red energy flowed through them. Their tendrils became thicker. Their movements became faster. The Hive had changed. Knull could feel every creature connected to him, but now he could feel something else. Knull released them. Darkseid had witnessed enough. You will not merge anti-life with your Hive. Knull turned toward him. Why? You already know the answer. Knull stepped closer. Because you have spent ages trying to possess it. Darkseid said nothing. Knull continued. You built an empire around the promise of absolute control. You searched worlds, destroyed civilizations, and bent gods to your will because you believed anti-life would make your dominion complete. But now it has found another vessel. Darkseid's expression hardened. You are not its vessel. Then why is it inside me? Darkseid moved. Knull swung the sword. Darkseid ducked beneath the blade and drove his fist into Knull's chest. Knull crashed through a tower. Knull twisted away. The beams followed. Knull was thrown backward. He landed on one knee. His armor was burning, but the wounds were already closing. Darkseid approached. This is your final warning. Knull stood. No. Knull raised his sword. This is yours. The symbiote army surged. Darkseid raised his hand. Omega energy exploded outward. The armies collided once more, but this time the battle was different. The anti-life energy had changed the symbiotes. They were no longer simply creatures controlled by Knull. They were becoming something closer to extensions of his will. Knull lifted one hand. The entire swarm moved as one. Knull watched. He understood. Anti-life was not simply making the symbiotes stronger, it was making them harder to resist. Darkseid realized the same thing. He looked toward the fissure. The equation was feeding the Hive, and the longer the battle continued, the stronger Knull became. Darkseid turned toward the fortress. Knull followed his gaze. You finally understand. Darkseid stopped. Knull's voice became colder. You cannot defend Apokolips from me forever. Darkseid turned. I am not defending Apokolips. His eyes ignited. I am eliminating you. Omega beams exploded. Knull raised the Necrosword. The two energies collided. The resulting explosion tore through the battlefield. For several seconds, nothing could be seen. Then Knull emerged from the smoke. Darkseid was already waiting. They charged. The Necrosword struck. Darkseid blocked. Darkseid punched. Knull absorbed the impact. Knull's tendrils wrapped around Darkseid's arm. Darkseid tore them away. Knull attacked again. The two collided again and again, moving through the ruins of Apokolips with enough force to destroy everything around them. But neither was fighting at full power. Not yet, because both had discovered the same terrifying truth. The anti-life equation was growing stronger with every collision, and something beneath Apokolips was feeding it. Suddenly, the fissure expanded. A massive wave of energy erupted. Darkseid and Knull were thrown apart. The battlefield went silent. Then a voice echoed across Apokolips. Not from the sky, not from the ground, from inside their minds. Control. Every parademon fell to their knees. Every symbiote froze. Darkseid remained standing. Knull remained standing. The voice continued. Submission. Knull felt the anti-life energy surge through the Hive. For the first time, his expression changed. The equation wasn't simply responding to him, it was testing him. He resisted. The symbiote screamed. Knull tightened his grip on the Necrosword. No, the pressure increased. The entire planet shook. Knull's eyes burned. I said no. The anti-life energy suddenly withdrew. Silence returned. Darkseid stared at Knull. You resisted it. Knull looked toward the fissure. So did you. Darkseid said nothing. They both understood. Neither was completely in control. And that made the situation far more dangerous. Knull looked toward the sky. The black-red pillar was spreading. Its energy had already crossed beyond Apokolips. It was reaching the cosmos. Darkseid watched the stars. Something had changed. The equation had begun broadcasting. And whatever could hear it would eventually come. Knull raised the Necrosword. I will finish this. Darkseid turned toward him. Then come. The two enemies disappeared into the darkness of the battlefield. The war for anti-life had begun, and neither intended to surrender. Apokolips was burning. The armies had fallen silent. The war machines had stopped. Even the parademons had retreated from the battlefield. There was only one confrontation left. Knull stood in the center of the wasteland. Darkseid descended from the ruins of his fortress. No armies surrounded them. No distractions remained. Only two beings stood between each other and the power beneath Apokolips. Darkseid raised his fists. Knull lifted the All-Black Necrosword. The wind stopped. Then they moved. Darkseid crossed the distance first. His fist struck Knull's jaw. Knull was thrown through several ruined structures. Before he could recover, Darkseid appeared above him and drove him into the ground. The impact created a crater. Knull's tendrils exploded from the crater. They wrapped around Darkseid's body. Darkseid tore them apart. Knull emerged from the smoke. He swung the Necrosword. Darkseid blocked. The blade screamed against his armor. Knull pushed harder. Darkseid's feet sank into the ground. Then Darkseid headbutted him. Knull staggered. Darkseid struck again. Knull caught the fist. For a moment, they stood locked together. Two ancient powers testing each other's strength. The symbiote armor expanded. Hundreds of tendrils erupted from his back. They wrapped around Darkseid. Darkseid roared and released a massive burst of Omega energy. The tendrils disintegrated. Knull was thrown backward. Darkseid's eyes began glowing brighter. The Omega beams fired. Knull dodged the first. The beams curved. He dodged again. They followed. Knull ran across the battlefield as the beams tore through buildings behind him. He suddenly stopped. The beams changed direction. Knull raised the Necrosword. The sword absorbed the impact. Darkseid stared. Knull pushed the blade forward. The Omega energy split around it. Knull charged. The Necrosword struck Darkseid across the chest. Darkseid staggered. Knull attacked again and again. Darkseid blocked each strike, but the All-Black Necrosword was beginning to cut through his defenses. Then Darkseid caught Knull by the throat. He lifted him from the ground. Knull's feet kicked above the wasteland. Darkseid squeezed. You are powerful. Knull's eyes burned. But you are still beneath me. His body dissolved. Darkseid's hand closed around nothing. Knull reformed behind him. The Necrosword plunged into Darkseid's shoulder. Darkseid roared. Omega energy erupted. Knull was thrown across the battlefield. Darkseid pulled the sword free. Blood and energy spilled from the wound. Knull watched. Darkseid looked at the blade, then at Knull. You believe that weapon makes you invincible? Knull shook his head. No, the symbiote armor spread across his body. I believe it makes me dangerous. Knull attacked. Darkseid attacked at the same moment. They collided. The shockwave ripped through Apokolips. Mountains collapsed. Towers shattered. The sky cracked with black-red lightning. Knull drove Darkseid backward. Darkseid struck Knull across the face. Knull responded with a brutal slash. Darkseid caught the blade. The two stood locked together. Then the anti-life equation erupted beneath them. A massive wave of energy shot upward. The battlefield disappeared beneath black-red light. Both were thrown apart. Knull landed first. He looked toward the fissure. The energy was stronger now. The symbiotes surrounding him began changing again. Their eyes became brighter. Their bodies became denser. The Hive was evolving. Knull could hear them, every single one. Millions of minds, millions of voices. Then he felt something else, the parademons. He could reach them too. Knull slowly raised his hand. 100 parademons turned toward him. Darkseid saw them. Do not. Knull closed his fingers. The parademons froze. For one moment, Darkseid's own soldiers stood under Knull's control. Darkseid's expression became terrifying. Knull released them. I could take them. Darkseid's voice became almost silent. You will not. Knull looked toward the fissure. I don't need them. The anti-life energy surged toward him. I need that. Omega beams struck Knull. Darkseid appeared behind him. His fist drove into Knull's back. Knull crashed into the ground. Darkseid grabbed him and hurled him into the sky. Knull recovered in midair. They fought above Apokolips. Punch, strike, blade, omega energy, tendrils. Each attack sent shockwaves through the atmosphere. Knull swung the Necrosword. Darkseid blocked. Darkseid unleashed the omega beams at point-blank range. Knull was blasted through the clouds. He fell toward the planet. Before he could hit the ground, symbiote tendrils caught him. Knull landed. Darkseid descended. Both were wounded. Both were exhausted. Neither surrendered. Darkseid's armor was cracked. Knull's symbiote armor was torn apart in several places, but the anti-life energy was still flowing. Knull looked at Darkseid. This world is dying. Darkseid looked around. It has survived worse. Not this. Knull pointed toward the fissure. You know what happens if that energy reaches the Hive. Darkseid's expression hardened. It will not. Knull smiled. Then stop me. Darkseid charged. Knull charged. Their final collision sent a shockwave across Apokolips. Knull drove the Necrosword into the ground. Darkseid slammed both fists into the earth. Their powers collided beneath them. The anti-life equation exploded upward. The entire planet disappeared beneath a black-red storm. Then Knull heard a voice. Not Darkseid, not the Hive, the equation. You were not summoned to control me. Knull froze. The storm became silent. Darkseid heard it too. The voice continued. You were summoned because something is coming. Knull slowly looked toward the sky. Darkseid did the same. Beyond the atmosphere, the stars were disappearing, one by one. Not exploding, not moving, simply vanishing. Something was approaching. The anti-life equation had not called Knull to Apokolips because it needed another conqueror. It had called him because it had sensed a threat beyond itself. Knull looked at Darkseid. What is that? Darkseid did not answer. For the first time, the Lord of Apokolips looked uncertain. Then a gigantic shadow appeared beyond the stars. It was so enormous that it seemed to cover entire galaxies. The anti-life energy reacted violently. The symbiote Hive screamed. Darkseid's omega energy flared. Knull tightened his grip on the Necrosword. The voice of anti-life echoed one final time. The thing beyond the darkness has awakened. Then the shadow moved. Knull looked at Darkseid. Their war had been interrupted. Neither had won, neither had lost, but both now understood the truth. Their battle was no longer the greatest danger. Something else had heard the signal, something that existed beyond anti-life, something that had been waiting beyond the edge of creation. Darkseid slowly raised his fists. Knull raised the Necrosword. For the first time since the invasion began, neither attacked. They looked toward the approaching darkness, and somewhere beyond the dying stars, something opened its eyes. The war for Apokolips was over. The war for the cosmos had begun.